Ukrainian ingenuity and Western weapons have once again proven their effectiveness. Russian air defense has proven powerless against swarms of Ukrainian drones, writes Neue Zürcher Zeitung. The Swiss publication calls them Hellish Machines. Recently, the Ukrainian military launched the most massive airstrike on strategic targets in Russia. The operation involved more than 200 long-range drones, which simultaneously attacked targets in 7 regions of Russia, including the Saratov region and Tatarstan. On Tuesday night, the Ukrainian military launched an unusually powerful series of drone and missile strikes on targets in the Russian hinterland. According to Russian military bloggers, a new type of drone was also used, which the Ukrainians only introduced in December. It is noteworthy that Kiev continues to calmly attack Russia with Western missiles. The latest wave of attacks targeted targets in at least 7 Russian regions at distances ranging from 200 to 1,100 kilometers. The greatest damage was recorded at an oil refinery in Saratov and a liquefied gas storage facility in Tatarstan. A military airfield in Engels was also hit, where aviation fuel depots caught fire. This is the second successful attack on this base in recent weeks. New types of drones, including the Peklo model developed by Ukrainian engineers, played a key role, analysts said, demonstrating the inability of Russian air defense systems to cope with massive attacks. Ukraine's Center for Strategic Communications stated that on January the 13th, 7 regions in Russia were targeted. The attacks focused on military production facilities, oil and gas infrastructure, and storage sites for guided bombs and missiles. These strikes come as President-elect Donald Trump prepares to take office, raising questions about the future of U.S. support for Ukraine. Ukrainian officials viewed the attacks as a demonstration of their capability to target critical infrastructure deep within Russian territory. Ukraine fired 6 U.S.-made ATACMS ballistic missiles, 6 British Storm Shadow cruise missiles into Russia in a mass attack on January the 13th, says Moscow. After Ukraine first launched ATACMS and British Storm Shadow missiles into Russia last year, Moscow responded on November the 21st by launching a new intermediate-range hypersonic ballistic missile known as Oreshnik or Hazel Tree at Ukraine. President Vladimir Putin said in November that the Ukraine war was escalating towards a global conflict after the United States and Britain allowed Ukraine for the first time to launch their missiles deep inside Russia. The U.S. presidential administration confirmed that the DPRK soldiers who are participating in the fighting in Kursk are suffering heavy losses, so they advised the Russian Federation to provide these troops with a sufficient number of body bags. This was stated by White House advisor John Kirby during a press briefing in Washington. As for the DPRK's losses in Ukraine, we know that the number of North Korean soldiers killed and wounded in battles there is growing, he said. At the same time, Kirby did not disclose the exact figures since, according to him, this is intelligence data, but he confirmed that DPRK soldiers are dying, being wounded and being captured by the Ukrainian armed forces. Apparently, they received some weapons, some training from the Russians. I hope that the Russians will also continue to provide them with body bags, because they will need it if they are going to continue fighting Ukrainian forces in the Kursk region, the politician noted. The White House advisor added that the North Korean troops that Russian dictator Vladimir Putin relies on are a sign of how desperate he is. Earlier, Ukrainian military expert Yevgeny Diki spoke about the DPRK troops in the war. According to him, these soldiers turned out to be ordinary cannon fodder for the Russian Federation, which almost did not give the enemy a positive result in Kursk. The North Korean soldiers are of very little use to Russia. We are dealing with very disciplined, very highly motivated, but absolutely unprofessional cannon fodder there, he said. Dickey noted that North Korean troops very rarely surrender. He is sure that this is due to the propaganda that North Korea broadcasts to its population. That is, these are people who firstly have their brains washed by propaganda, compared to which the Russian media is simply the free world. North Korea is something absolutely beyond the pale. In principle, any propaganda can be penetrated, but they still have families there, and these families are effectively hostages. They all know very well what the regime of Comrade Kim Jong-un does with the families of traitors. Just as in Stalin's time, there was the concept of family member of a traitor to the motherland, which determined the entire fate of a person, so it is in North Korea. That is, their families are hostages there, so they will not surrender or retreat, Dickey emphasized. He added that the Russians often use North Korean soldiers as free labor. According to him, these soldiers only held machine guns in their hands when taking the oath, which confirmed their effectiveness on the battlefield. Moscow may be involved in a number of sabotage incidents in the Baltic Sea. Sweden has found damage to another deep-sea cable. Reuters reports this. The sabotage is believed to have involved the Chinese vessel Yipeng 3, which is also linked to Russia. It damaged not only telecommunications cables between Sweden and Lithuania, as well as Finland and Germany, but also the electric Nordbolt between Sweden and Lithuania. Presumably, the ship dragged an anchor along the seabed for about 150 kilometers to hit strategically important objects in the Baltics. This happened on November the 17th to the 18th of last year, 2024. In Europe, they believed that a tanker of their shadow fleet, the Eagle S, may also be involved in the sabotage. It probably damaged the Estlink 2 cable between Estonia and Finland on December the 26th. Finnish authorities are confident that the oil tanker Eagle S was planning more sabotage in the Baltic Sea, but these plans were thwarted by the ship's arrest. The crew were ready to cut other cables and pipelines when Finnish authorities boarded the ship last month, said Risto Lohi, an investigator with Finland's National Bureau of Investigation, who is handling the case. Eagle S was arrested on December the 26th. The vessel is believed to have damaged the Finnish-Estonian power line Estlink 2 and 4 other telecommunications cables, dragging its anchor more than 100 kilometers along the seabed. The crew was arrested while heading to the second power cable Estlink 1 and the Baltic Connector gas pipeline between Finland and Estonia. The crew of the Eagle S has been questioned, of which 9 are considered suspects. The ship's captain is a Georgian citizen. NATO took the sabotage in the Baltic Sea very seriously. A decision was made to launch the Baltic Guard program to eliminate the threat. It is planned to involve frigates, aviation, and a fleet of naval UAVs. Recall the underwater cable was damaged during the day on December the 25th. That same day, but in the evening, Finnish special forces landed on board the Russian tanker Eagle S, which is suspected of sabotage. At the same time, law enforcement agencies noticed traces of an anchor near the cable, which was not just lying on the seabed, but was being dragged. Bloomberg reports. The length of the anchor tracks is tens of kilometers, and it is still unknown exactly where the anchor separated from the chain. The arrested Russian vessel Eagle S is located near the port of Kilpilati,